Israel's military steps up its operation in Gaza with an overnight ground assault in the north of the territory as thousands of injured Palestinians seek treatment.
Living under siege and bombardment, supplies of bread and clean water are running perilously low for 2 million people in Gaza.
Hours after Russia's upper house of parliament rescinds the ratification of the nuclear test ban treaty, President Putin oversees a massive atomic missile test. Slovakia's newly sworn-in Prime Minister, populist Robert Fico, says Bratislava will stop sending weapons to Ukraine. He's also resisted further EU sanctions against Russia. Tanks rolling across Israel's border into northern Gaza. Israel's defence forces say they conducted a targeted raid Wednesday night with armed vehicles and infantry. It's been described as the largest ground assault in the besieged territory by Prime Minister Netanyahu's military so far. Army personnel say the attack was in preparation for its looming counter-offensive and claim the soldiers have returned to Israeli territory. This before two flares were captured on film over the war-ravaged strip at sunrise. Even Rafah in the south of the territory on Egypt's border hasn't escaped Israel's relentless shelling. Hospitals across the enclave are at breaking point, their emergency centres overwhelmed. This Palestinian child is receiving treatment at the Indonesian hospital in Gaza's Beit Lahia area as strikes continue overhead. These before and after images show the extent of the damage caused by Israel's daily bombardment. The war now entering its 20th day is the deadliest of 5 conflicts in the region.
Long queues to buy a loaf of bread on the streets of Al-Kariba in the west of the Khan Yunis refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. This image was unthinkable just 3 weeks ago. Then came the Hamas terrorist attack and the complete Israeli blockade and bombings in response. The lives of 2 million people have taken an unimaginable turn.
احنا من الشمال جايين نازحين على خان يونس تقريبا 80 نفر في الشقة. اللي كل يوم باجي من الساعة 4 بقعد 4-5 ساعات كل يوم عشان اخذ رابطة خبز. معاناة يعني شديدة. كل يوم نسمع اخبار انه المخابز انقصفت محلات، فانا لما اجي قبل الفجر في نص الليل صوت الزنانات هذا رعب بحد ذاته. فاحنا هنا بنيجي من خاطر عشان واحد ياكل له نص رغيف او ربع رغيف.
The Israeli blockades brought serious food supply problems for people who've sought refuge in the south of the Strip. For them, life goes by without light, without fuel, with hardly any food and with a shortage of drinking water.
والله صار سمعنا قصف ودب ورعب وخوف من كل جميع الجهات. ما عرفنا كيف نطلع، ما خدناش إشي من بيوتنا، طلعنا ثاني يوم لما نقول بيتكم راح بعوض الله ولا حاجة ضلت لنا. لا الحين معانا ماء ومي ولا فرشات ولا مخدات ولا إشي. هاي نصف الدور عشان نعبي لنا شوية مية، لا أكل لا حاجة طلع معانا من بيوتنا.
نحن سكان قطاع غزة أمام كارثة إنسانية لا تحمد عواقبها بسبب نقص إمدادات المياه. ما عندنا مية نضخ للناس لا عن طريق الآبار ولا محطات ولا التوزيع إطلاقا. عندنا المخزون الاستراتيجي 0 من السولار، وكذلك فيش عندنا كهرباء ل 11 يوم. نحن سكان قطاع غزة إذا لم يتدخل العالم من أجل إنقاذ أرواح الأبرياء في قطاع غزة نحن أمام كارثة إنسانية والكل يتحمل مسؤوليته بعد ذلك.
Water is rationed, 300 millilitres per person per day. As night falls, darkness will take over Khan Yunis, and with it a blanket of fear as the bombs rain down over Gaza.
No more arms deliveries to Ukraine. Slovakia's new Prime Minister Robert Fico announced the move on Thursday after he was sworn in by President Zuzana Chaputova. Bratislava will also limit, quote, humanitarian and civil aid to its neighbour. This is the left-wing populist's 4th term as premier.
Budete počuť zo slovenskej vlády, zo slovenských ministerstiev suverénny slovenský hlas. Budete vidieť vykonávanie suverénnej slovenskej zahraničnej politiky.
Fico formed a parliamentary majority after joining ranks with the leftist Voice Alliance and the pro-Russian Slovak National Party. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen congratulated Fico on his appointment on the social media platform X, stressing we need a strong Slovakia, especially one that supports Ukraine. Analysts predict the country will steer closer to the nationalist policies of Hungary and become increasingly Eurosceptic. Fico is expected at an EU summit in Brussels later this week.
At a conference in Belarus, Hungary's foreign minister has said his country will continue to cooperate with Russia on energy issues, despite the European Union's move to end its reliance on Russian oil and gas. Speaking at the Eurasian Security Summit, Peter Siyato said for decades, Europe's success has been based on a combination of Western technology and cheap, accessible Eastern fossil fuels.
From where you buy energy has nothing to do with politics, and it's not a political statement. This is a matter of physical reality. And since the obligation and responsibility of the Hungarian government is to guarantee the safe supply of energy of the country, and since it is physically excluded without the Russian sources, we will continue to cooperate in a pragmatic way with Russia, as many others do, but they don't speak about it.
Hungary is seen by many EU countries as the bloc's most pro-Russian member. That perception was reinforced recently at a summit in China, where Prime Minister Viktor Orban appeared to have friendly talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Russia preparing for nuclear war. Moscow fired several ballistic missiles on Wednesday in response to what it is calling an eventual external attack. Since its full-scale assault on Ukraine began, Russia has wielded the atomic threat several times. The drills took place hours after the Upper House of Parliament voted to rescind the ratification of the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty after it was approved by the Duma last week. The exercises, conducted some 800 kilometres north of the capital, were closely monitored by President Vladimir Putin, Defence Minister Sergei Shoigu and the Army's Chief of Staff Valery Gerasimov. The bill will now go to Putin for the final green light. While Russia conducts similar drills every autumn, there is growing concern the Kremlin might increase nuclear testing to discourage Ukraine's Western allies from providing military support.
Russian airstrikes on the Ukrainian city of Slavuta have damaged some 300 buildings. But according to Kyiv, the target was most likely a nearby power plant. The overnight attack injured at least 20 people and temporarily cut power to the plant's radiation monitoring station.
Більш вірогідно, що мішенью для цих дронів була Хмельницька атомна станція. Хвилею від вибуху вибило вікна, зокрема і на території АЕС. Це удар в напрямку АЕС. Чергове нагадування для усіх наших партнерів, наскільки важливо посилювати українську ППО та наскільки небезпечно, коли Росія може обходити світові санкції.
Meanwhile, in a sandy ravine outside Kyiv, a group of recent volunteers from Russia are learning the basics of warfare.
Я считаю, нужно ликвидировать путинскую диктатуру, ликвидировать ту систему, которая ведет к угнетению людей, к неравенству. А для этого нужна победа Украины.
The recruits are part of a newly formed battalion of some 50 Russian citizens who have come to Ukraine to fight Moscow's forces.
Storm Otis had developed into a level 5 hurricane by the time it hit Mexico's southwest coast close to the beach resort of Acapulco. With wind speeds of 270 kilometers an hour and gusts of up to 330 kilometers an hour, it left a trail of damage and destruction. At least one person died, according to media reports.
Pues ahorita viéndolo, Acapulco quedó en desastre total. No es nada de lo que era antes. El parque quedó totalmente deshecho, los edificios, todas las calles. No. Yo describiría Acapulco como ahorita como un desastre total.
La casa está bien descubierta. Bien descubierta.
Le voló su techo.
Toda la casa. Pérdida total.
Pérdida total. Tus pertenencias.
Mis colchones, mis papeles de mis hijos, de mis nietos, todo.
Half a day after the hurricane passed through, power and communications are cut across large parts of the region. Otis developed from a tropical storm into a hurricane within 12 hours, giving local people little chance to escape or prepare.
A winged lamaso sculpture has been discovered in northern Iraq. This mythical creature, part bull, part eagle, and once with the head of a man, was unearthed by a team of archaeologists. The 2,700-year-old relic was found perfectly preserved underground in the modern-day village of Khorsabad. Locals here buried the monument before fleeing the region during the Islamic State occupation. These ancient alabaster creations once guarded the gates of ancient cities across the Neo-Assyrian Empire, but many were destroyed by militants. The head of the sculpture is on display at the Iraq Museum in Baghdad.
2, 1, go!
An international gathering for a contest of gathering. Some 12 teams from different countries have taken part in the World Olive Picking Championship in the Croatian village of Postira. The teams, composed of 4 pickers, each had 45 minutes to pluck as many olives as they could.
It's cool. I had no idea what to expect when we came here. It's cool to meet so many people from so many different countries. It's just a different thing. Also, none of us ever thought we'd get to represent our country in the World Championships. I'm picking what I'm talking.
It's actually my first time here in Croatia. It is exciting, and I'm very happy to be here to support this project, which is beautiful. And now let's just concentrate on the olives.
Croatia won for the 4th year in a row, with their haul weighing over 48 kilos. Neighboring Montenegro came second. But there were honorable mentions for teams from Germany and Ireland, who did well despite having no tradition of olive growing in their countries.